Welcome to On Cooldown, our news show. Yep. In today's episode we will explore the first few things Mechagon will bring us alongside the new Essence system and how they look in action. We have new models that were data mined from the PTR and one of them really stands out a bit. A bunch of hotfixes for raids and trinkets in PvP have been addressed, so stop farming opulence right now. Lastly, classic WoW PTR might be upon us sooner than we expected. Or is it just when we expect it? It's soon! Hello nerds, I hope you had an amazing week. Let's kick off the Friday with some news and what's been happening in WoW for the past 7 days. Hopping right into it, the PTR has been live for the past few days with new stuff to test and play with. One of the new features of 8.2 is the Heart of Azeroth and the Essence feature. Essentially, in 8.2 we will revisit the Heart of Azeroth chamber that's now patched and fixed by Mother. We will do a series of helping quests around Azeroth since actually shit's hit the fan and a lot of places are under trouble. Each zone is basically an introduction to a specific essence, since that will be the reward for these quests. And generally we will get essences from all sorts of activities, achievements and such. Once you have one of these essences, we go to the Chamber of the Heart and we infuse our neck with it. Very similar to our Legion artifact. There are two types of slots we can insert essences into. One major one and the rest minor ones that we will unlock as we progress through 8.2. Yep, we won't have all of them unlocked off the bat and that's fine. The main issue with the Azerite traits so far is that when you unlocked one, you didn't really unlock it all the way. If a higher eye level piece dropped, you will have to farm it to unlock it again. This time it's just a single linear progression, again similar to Legion artifact weapons. The essences so far are cool, but I have come to realize I'm easily impressionable. One of the ones I actually like is a class specific essence that works for all classes. Before I explain this one as an example, you need to understand that essences are kind of like reusable gems with two effects, a major one and a minor one. When you put an essence into the major slot of our neck, you get both the effects. When you put it into the minor one, you only get the minor effect. Basically, this means you can mix and match and try out different combinations. As an example, let's look at the Elemental Shamans. The Vision of Perfection essence, available to all classes, pretty much has the same effect for all of them, except affecting the spec's main cooldown. Fire Elemental has a chance to pop when using spells for 50% of its normal duration, and once it does, it also reduces the cooldown of Fire Elemental. That would be the major effect. The minor effect is that the overall cooldown of Fire Elemental is reduced by 16.5%, at least on the epic version of the essence. These essences can potentially change talent you take. For instance, on Elemental we might see Storm Elemental and Primal Elementalist be the best candidates when running this one in the major slot. We could also want the Echo of the Elemental's Azerite trait to go along with it. I personally like effects that reduce the cooldown of your major DPS button, especially when they can change your build and playstyle as well. Blizzard also made a post regarding this since a lot of people had questions. Fury Warriors, for instance, that run Reckless Abandon. How will this work for them so as to not cap rage and stuff? The essences are still undergoing testing and in certain cases, if not all of them, the proc it gives might be a bit weaker, maybe specifically for the reason I just mentioned. Having an empowered Storm Elemental out essentially every minute could be very unbalanced. As such, all of the numbers and effects we see now will most likely change before everything goes live, so keep that in mind. But so far, I'm excited! The next major piece of content we can explore is Mechagon. There is a neat little intro questline with some throwbacks to the latest book published, so I won't go into spoiler territory for now. We will go in depth on the content in future videos, so if you are interested, keep your eyes peeled. So far, Mechagon comes with a few new mechanics, one of which is the customizable ring effect that we haven't had until now. There are essentially two categories of rings. logic loops, and bit bands. Logic loops provide a condition for you to meet that will activate the effect on the bit band. For instance, the logic loop of salvation says if you heal a target whose health is below 50%, ... to which you can attach a bit band that can say, then you deal X damage to a nearby enemy. There are multiple combinations, some that would make more sense, some that would not, and playing around with these types of mechanics is the theme of Mechagon, and that's what Blizzard wants us to do. Right now we know about the punch card trinket and the pair 'em up rings, and hopefully we can see more of this in the future. Finishing up with the 8.2 talk, we have some new models that can hint at upcoming content. Of course, we get the new mounts, new item sets, and that's all fine and good. We will also get updates on professions, which isn't something new. We've been having these so-called updates for 2 patches, and although the devs are really trying to make them seem fun, for me, the system is the issue, and the fact that I cannot use my profession to make gold, or be that blacksmithing guy that makes that one amazing sword we use to slay the dragon, that will always be an issue for me, and it will always make the profession boring and a chore. There are a lot of RPGs out there that make professions cool and interesting, and if the devs are too stubborn to take some ideas from that, just make the professions like in TBC again, where we had subclasses that would teach us strong, unique recipes that other people who choose a different subclass could not make. And who is this fellow? Thrall? Oh yes, a new Thrall model has been data mined, and we know nothing about him yet. Not everyone is happy to hear this, I'm sure. But if they make Thrall not a humanitarian and the orc shaman we loved growing up, I'm all for his return. Let's move on to our live servers and see what happens. Well, for one thing, the new raid is out. I actually had the chance to test it out with my guild, and the changes of scenery are amazing and refreshing. The old god Lovecraftian theme of it is striking, and the eye of a was more than likely not intended. The bosses feel nice, the mechanics are cool, and overall it's a nice break from Battle for the Zandalari lore. I will have to say that the mechanics seemed a bit on the easy side for normal and heroic. It could be that we were overgearing it so the viewpoint is skewed. Since it does not reward us with improved Azerite traits or any Azerite traits whatsoever, I'm okay with the difficulty. It's a fun raid aimed at promoting some cool new items and effects, which I got actually. On my enhancement shaman, I have the trinket that stacks the buff and the debuff, which is cool to play because using it poorly can actually kill you. It takes me down to 10% HP if I sit through its entire duration, which in raids is maybe not a big issue since there's a lot of AoE healing going on that will negate that. But in dungeons, that might actually be a problem, so we'll see. After the raid's release and generally in the last week, we have had some hotfixes and nerfs. Battle for the Zandalari lore has 3 major nerfs. The AoE area beneath Paku has been increased on normal and heroic, while Kragwa's Wrath area has been reduced. At Blockade, you will notice the Siren's base health has also been reduced for normal and heroic difficulties. If you're the farm transmog type, you'll be happy to know that Chromagus has had additions to his loot table that were previously taken away. Possibly the most impactful nerfs have been to PvP trinkets, specifically the healing and tanking ones. The trinkets, as the dev stated, were meant to give healers and tanks an edge in arenas. As such, those bonuses will be reduced by 50% when DPS will be wearing them. Bye bye Diamond Lace Refracting Prism. After the raid release, we are also seeing an update to the loot table. Basically, it seems that healers and tanks were getting the loot meant for the DPS counterpart specs, when their loot specialization was set to their default. Also, a few bugs that you may or may not have encountered. I was too focused on being bottom of the DPS with enhancement to notice that Promise of Power had an issue being dispelled, but I did hear my ranged DPS friends complaining that dispel wasn't coming. In the defense of the healers who tried their best, guys, it was a bug. Now it's fixed. Also, certain players were not able to leave the room after defeating the Restless Cabal. That was fixed as well. Didn't happen for us though. And what better way to finish today's segment than with what started it all? Classic WoW. Yep, the Classic WoW server has made an entrance on the Blizzard CDN, or Content Delivery Network. Why is this important? Well, patch 8.2 had the same entrance 2 weeks before it went live. Can you put 2 and 2 together? Most likely, in May, we would get our classic WoW PTR testing server. I'm also curious to find out how that works. There's so much to test in Classic that no matter how much time they give us, it will never be enough until the server is out. Meaning we will probably test niche things like combat, a raid, a battleground, or the Barons. If you like the sleek UI, we have a video on our add-ons that you can check so you too can play in style. Shout out to our patrons for supporting our dream of following our passion.
In a world where the government gives you jack.
We also have an Amazon affiliate link for all you shopaholics out there, and you can check some of our nerdy stuff when it comes to building your cool desktop PC, or maybe just some Warcraft stuff. Thanks for watching the video, and I sincerely hope you have a lovely weekend.